first ever art bento box. It's what we're calling the promo box because we're going to officially launch this project on Kickstarter. But before we get to Kickstarter, we wanted to build some boxes, test it, get some testers and some people making projects with boxes, and get some feedback. So, if you're watching this, thank you very much. You're either a tester, or you found it, or you've been following the Instagram or one of the social media locations we've been posting. The project we're going to do is a mini art journal. But first, why don't we open the box and see what's in it? So we've picked a crush-resistant box, so hopefully they'll go through the mail okay. That's one of the things we're going to test. And when you open it, the first thing you see is the Art Bento Box menu card. This is the August box, so we have filled it with a bunch of different things. Main courses means everybody gets the same. So there's different materials where everybody gets the same, and the reason we have that as an option is because to do a project every time with a box, we need to have the same types of materials so that we can all follow along with the project if we want to do the project for that month. We also have what I'm calling fruits and veggies, which I say is the variety is the spice of life, because these things are different. So in this box, for example, we have the acrylic paint. Everyone's going to get a different color. And then for dessert, a little something extra, we're going to have custom or specialty items or things that cost a little bit more. And then this month we have washi tape. We also have an option to share what you make on social media, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, all of that. That way we can share and get the word out and get people excited about the Art Bento Box. I know I am excited. We also have a website for you to sign up for our newsletter and get to know all the information that's happening on the project and when we're putting it on Kickstarter. So there's that. And we open it up. We got some good tissue paper in here. And this is going to come a little more packaged, since this is my test box to show you the project sample. I already have the paint and the washi tape out, but if you're a tester or if you get one of the promo boxes, they'll be all wrapped up. So I have some blue acrylic paint, washi tape, 5 artist trading cards, some art foam with a sticky back, a package of ephemera, and a package of handmade paper and a white Prismacolor pencil. I really enjoy white pencils. They work really well over acrylic paint. So for this first project, we're not going to use all these materials, but we're going to use quite a bit of the paper and the washi tape, and then maybe do a bonus video where we use these extra things. But for right now, we're going to set some of this stuff aside. And the first thing you want to do is, I'm going to lay out the materials we're going to need for it. So, we're going to need the artist trading cards. We're going to need some of this ephemera. Let's go ahead and get this out. There's also a custom stencil in this one. We're going to use this big piece of ephemera, which everybody has in the box this time. I'm going to use this playing card that I have in my box. And we're going to put the extra materials aside for now. Then we're going to get out the paper. I'm going to use some of that as well. And everybody, like I said, will have this blue dotted swirl paper. So I'm going to use that. I have an orange sheet, a fadeless art paper, handmade silkscreen paper, as well as some thin rice paper and another orangey sheet. So for this, you can use any of this paper. I'm going to use the thicker sheets. The first thing we want to do is lay out all the materials. So I also need a glue stick, a cutting utensil, and scissors are fine too if you don't have an X-Acto knife. I find an X-Acto knife a little bit easier, but it's up to your preference. A straight edge, and the washi tape. So once we have all the materials laid out, we're going to select our size. You can do 2 different sizes. You can do the full size artist trading card, which is what I'm going to show how to do in this video. But I've already done a smaller version, which is what this is. So it's about half size. So you can see the size difference there. And I essentially cut down some of the materials in half so I could make this smaller book. So this is what we're going to be doing for the project. So once you select your size, and like I said, for this box we're going to do the full size one, and you have all your materials out, we want to start cutting down the paper. Now I don't need to cut the artist trading cards, they're already at the right size, but I do need to cut some of these other materials. This playing card is pretty much right on size. It's got rounded edges, but that's okay. I like a little bit of variation in my journal, so all of these are ready to go. But I'm going to cut these other things down. I am just going to use a card, and if I cut it this way, I can get multiples out of this bigger piece of ephemera. So I'm going to use my straight edge and line that up and use my X-Acto knife to cut this down. To the sizes we need to make the book. So, and this is why, if you cut a little bit off, that's fine. This is why I feel like the straight edge is a little bit easier to use, because you can line up your ruler and just cut and use this as a template for the sizes that you need. If you're using scissors, that's fine too. You can do something very similar, or you can measure and draw lines and cut that way as well. And then you can see this is starting to come out in pages. So you just want to select all the papers you want up front and get all of them cut down to the right size. So that you are ready to go. And I save all the extra bits and pieces for other projects. Nothing goes to waste. I love making little journals, especially to do mixed media in them, or put them in my purse or my bag and take them with me on vacations. There's something extra special about a little book that you made. It's very personal. Now when you're cutting this paper, especially the ones with patterns on it, I just stopped here for a second because I was looking at this and I have green here, and I'm actually going to turn this paper and cut to here because I'd like to get more of this really pretty blue and pink in my journal for a little bit more variation in color. But this extra piece right here will make some nice paper for an additional project. The green's really pretty. So then out of one sheet, I get 2 very different looking pieces to work with. Just checking my size there. You can see just out of this one box, I'm getting a pretty good sampling of papers and lots of pages for my book. So I'm going to save the rest of that blue paper because we're going to use a little more paper for later on for the journal. So now I have all of these papers all cut down to the right sizes for my journal. Now I'm going to decide how I want them laid out and which page I would like for the cover. I really like this ephemera, so there's just something about like the stamps and the handwriting and all of that on there and the lines. So I'm going to go ahead and make this my cover. So I'm going to flip it over because I want this part to be on the outside. And I'm going to put an artist trading card next to it. I'm just going to lay out my book here and decide pages and how they're going to go together. So I'm going to look at them and then flip them over as I decide and pick. Put another card here. I'll put the playing card in now. Another artist trading card. One of my papers. I'm going to put, actually, I'm going to flip this one. So this is this way, and these oranges come together as a spread. And then I'm going to put this one, instead of flipping the stripes this way, I'm going to flip them over and put solid to solid so that I can have stripes and my blue page next to each other. And I'm actually going to save... No, I'm going to put these all in here. And this will be my last spread here. So there's my book laid out and ready to go. I've selected how I want all the pages to come together. And now I'm going to start assembling it and making it into a book. So the first thing we need to do is take the cover and make sure you face the part out you want to be the cover and this next page. And you're going to lay them next to each other and leave just a little bit of gap here. You want about 1/16 of an inch. And you can eyeball this. It doesn't have to be perfect, but about 1/16 of an inch right there. Because you want to leave a little bit of room for building pages. There's something called creep. As you build this into a book, the pages start to expand and contract a little bit, and this spine here will get creep. So if you butt them right up against each other. So we're going to give it a little breathing room. Then you're going to take your washi tape and you want to kind of lay it out there and look at it and make sure you give yourself enough room, enough line of tape to cover these entire pages. So you're going to tape and really push down. So this is your first 2 pages coming together right here, so that you're making a little book, and this is what's going to hold your pages together. And then go ahead and trim off that excess tape, and this is where a straight edge is helpful. We're going to trim this at the end as well, but I have found that it's easier to trim the tape off as you go. So now that we have these first two pages, your cover and your first page, you're just going to lay that back down just like you did the first time, and lay your next page out and continue this process until you have all the pages together. And this doesn't have to be perfect, just building your book little bit by little bit. I picked the little bit thicker pages, the little bit thicker paper, so that I know for my book I'm going to do mixed media on it. And so some of the little bit thinner paper, like this rice paper, I might use this as part of the mixed media aspect of this book, but I wouldn't put it in as a sheet for my book because I want to add wet and dry medium, and this is a little thin. If you are just making a decorative book and you may not want to work on all of the pages and create or write on them, you could definitely add these additional pages in, and they would just be pretty pages that were inside of your book. So it is helpful as you plan your book that your front cover and your back cover are thicker. So an artist trading card or some of the cardstock ephemera. So here's my book, and you can see I washi tape spine from all those little gaps, and it gives it some flexibility, and these will lay flat so you can work on them. But we're not done. The next thing we need to do is cover this spine because it's sticky from the washi tape, and we want to have the book hold together. So we're going to cover that spine with, I'm going to cover mine with the blue paper that came in this box, or this is actually a leftover piece that I think will make a great spine. So I'm going to save this big chunk of paper and use one of my extra little pieces that came from cutting down one of my cards as the spine. So you want to have a spine that's about an inch, inch and a half, 2 inches. It really depends on the thickness of your book. So you want to look at the thickness of your book, and you want to double or a little over a double what the thickness is. So this book is about a 1/2 inch thick, and this spine I'm going to use is about 1.5 inches. And the reason you need to at least double or a little over a double is because you're going to use this and you're going to wrap it around. Now that we have the book done and we've picked the spine size, this is what we need the glue stick for. I really like the extra strong glue sticks. They're archival. They are permanent adhesive. So what you want to do is, I actually use extra cardboard cut from boxes that I get in the mail, like Amazon boxes, and use them to glue on so I don't glue directly on my artboard. Glue gets really gummy. So you want to get a good amount of glue on there because you're going to glue it, and this is going to help hold your book together. And you want to decide which part you want on the front of your book. You want to put it down, and you want to have an overlap of at least 1/4 inch over the side. And then you're going to fold it, and you want to line your pages up, put them against something hard, and pull the spine over. And get it really, so I'm pushing down and pulling to get that spine as tight as I can against that washi tape. And you want to push it. So you have glue and you have that washi tape. And so lining it up and pushing it on the table helps straighten all these pages as well. And then you want to let that glue become solid. But because of the way we put this book together, so there's my spine. Because of the way we put this book together, it's still going to open and lay flat, which is great because as you work on it, it's really nice to have it be a flat book. So make sure that glue is good and dry. So the last step is a cleanup step. And you can see as I went through and I trimmed that tape, we have little bits and pieces hanging over. I am fine, and I think it gives it character that not every page is exactly the same height, but we want to clean up this tape. So open it to about the center of the book. You can count the pages to be more exacting, or you can just open it to what you feel like is the center. And you want to put your straight edge down, and this is where having an X-Acto knife really helps. When you trim these edges, it's much harder to do with a scissors, even if they're really sharp. So you want to put this down, and this will help trim up the pages a bit too. So we're just going to trim the whole top of the book. And as you put your, remember this has a little bit of give, so you really want to push hard and hold it in place. And you're going to trim up the edges and get a nice flat, and you just keep trimming until you have everything off of there. So that trims up all of the tape and gets you a nice flat edge. A nice flat edge. Where you can see this side still has the bits and pieces of the tape. So that's what we just did there. We just flattened that out. So we're going to open that back up, and we're going to do the other side. And you want to push all your pages into alignment, because remember your spine has a little bit of give. That's what allows you to open it flat like this. So you want to line everything back up, and you want to put your straight edge back down just like you did the first time. And just push really hard so that it doesn't move, and just trim that edge. You can see all that extra tape that came off there. So we have a nice trimmed edge. And there we go. That side's trimmed as well. Now, I really like the edges a little bit more rough on this side. You can follow the same thing. For this, it's better if you don't trim it. If you want to trim this edge, don't trim it all together. Do the same process where you open it to the center and you trim, and then you turn it and you trim. That way your pages won't move around as much, and you'll get a nice flatter, perfect edge. But to me, we're done with our little book. Now, I have done a book already, the half-size version I showed you, and I'm going to show you what you can do with this book. So, this is the half-size version, and you can see the size differences. This size just cut in half. So, if you do a half-size, you'll get your paper to go a lot further. I also like that it's really tiny and cute, but I've started to add embellishment and start to use it for mixed media. So I will show you a few pages here. So the great thing is we made this little project and you have options. We have lots of materials left over. And I would love your feedback on this project and the little book and the materials in the art bento box. And I'm really excited to get this project going. Remember, you can look for us on Kickstarter at the end of September.